Welcome to the Fantasy Football Fanatics podcast with your hosts Griffin Palmer, CJ Hickman, Jason Cabrera, and Ryan Mitchell.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. It is Friday, April 14th, and welcome to the Fantasy Football Fanatics podcast. I am your host, Griffin Palmer, joined over the phone as always by CJ the Hitman Hickman and Jason Cabrera. What's up, guys?
Hey. Guys, it is my son's birthday today.
Hey, happy birthday to him. Look at that.
7 years old.
Oh, they grow so fast. All right. Well,
he's already your height, Griffin.
Oh, he's getting close. Dang, that's so cold. Anyway, I wanted to just breeze by it, but I couldn't. That was a very unnecessary shot that I just took there. All right. Anyway, just because I'm the shortest guy on the show doesn't mean that was necessary. Well, rebounding now, we have an amazing show for you guys today. We're going to push past that. Today, we will be continuing to take a look at the top rookie prospects of 2017. We're going to be starting our spotlights of the rookie running back position. So, of course, the fantasy impact of those players, the ones that you should be looking out for, the ones that are going to be draftable, things of that nature. We're going to try to get into some mailbag, and of course, we're going to bring you all the top headlines from around the league. As always, please make sure you guys subscribe, rate, and review the show on iTunes, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, YouTube, the works. We are on Facebook, facebook.com/thefantasyfootballfanatics. We're on Twitter @theFFFanatics. You can check us out online at our website, thefantasyfootballfanatics.com. Of course, you can email us your questions as well at thefantasyfootballfanatics@gmail.com. You know, just lots of ways to get a hold of us. Just search for The Fantasy Football Fanatics. You'll probably find us. And as always, if you do want to support the show, help us keep the lights on, keep the cameras rolling, keep us doing what we do, head over to patreon.com/thefantasyfootballfanatics to get yourself a bunch of cool bonus perks. A lot of cool stuff coming very shortly. As soon as this draft is done, we're going to be getting to some new cool stuff over there. And, of course, catching a bonus episode every single week. So, head over there if you want those perks. Now we're going to move into our warm-up question of the day, which comes from our mailbag, and this comes in from Dan in Anchorage, Alaska. So, hello, sir. He says, my league is a 3 wide receiver league with no flex. Should I value the wide receivers higher in my draft or approach it at like a standard format today with 2 wide receivers and a flex? He says it's standard scoring league, so he's wondering if the old style of standard league formats he should approach differently than the current one, where it went from 3 wide receivers to 2 wide receiver and a flex. So, what are your thoughts on this, guys?
You got to value it. You got to put all chips in on wide receivers. If that flex option is not there, got to do it.
Yeah. I would value your wide receivers pretty high. Then, that's 3 wide receivers you got to have, no flex. And in my flex, I usually like to go get myself a running back. So, yeah.
See, this is one of those things. Because it is standard scoring, if this was half-point PPR, you would have to basically sell out for wide receivers because you have a guaranteed spot that you need not only depth of the position, but you need more starters, so you're going to want higher value players. But because this is a standard scoring league, I feel like you can mostly keep the same approach, but when you get to one of those, I'm in the 4th, 5th round, and I got 2 guys I like equally, maybe you lean the wide receiver more times than not because you need those starters, you need that depth. The running back position, it's not going to get any, it's not going to get any deeper, so you still need those guys, and there is a point around the 5th, 6th round where that talent really dries up pretty quickly, so don't ignore the position. Just because it's 3 wide receiver, don't go 0 RB. Please don't do that. But
no, never do that.
Yeah, never do that. But it's definitely, you have to take it into account when you're doing that old school standard format of 3 wide receivers. So just take it into your math. Watch your league, let it flow, let it come to you, but lean towards the wide receivers when you have to. All right, so let's move on to our free agent news / top headlines from around the league, and we'll start with some league-wide headlines, starting with there are new reports that are coming out of Cleveland that they might not, in fact, take Myles Garrett with the number 1 overall pick. There are new reports suggesting that they may, in fact, even be looking at quarterback at number 1 overall. So, we made a lot of jokes on Tuesday, and we made a lot of comments about some of the news articles that were breaking, some of this and the next one, and some of it's turning out to potentially be true. Now, of course, this is that time of year where it's a lot of misdirection and smoke screens and things of that nature, but what are your thoughts on this, guys?
This is the reason right here, the reason why Cleveland has been the laughingstock of the NFL. If they make a decision like this is pure stupidity. None of these guys really, I mean, we've talked about this, none of these guys really warrant a first-round pick to begin with, and then you can pick one number 1 overall? That is insanity. And you're gonna pass on a freak like Myles Garrett? No. I hope this is misdirection. I hope they're just trying to. I don't even know why they would need misdirection at this point. They're number 1 overall. You know, it's not like anyone can jump up ahead of them. You know, it's stupid.
I would assume that, I mean, obviously, like you said, yeah, it's not like they can get a more prime position to draft from. They have a ton of draft picks, but I would say that this is probably an attempt to maybe move back. You know, you talk about, we're going to take a quarterback, and then if there's a quarterback, you know, like the Jets, for instance, that are, 5 picks behind them, if they really have a guy that they like and they want to move up, maybe they move back a couple spots and get some more draft picks out of it. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of, because if Cleveland really does pull the trigger with the number 1 overall pick on quarterback, man, is
there any way for me to take back my over/under on Cleveland's wins?
No, you are locked in.
That statement.
It's already on record.
Yep.
This is the dumbest thing. I hope to goodness that this is just a smoke screen. Because, man, look, you have a defense that you need to be rebuilding. You have an offense that you need to rebuild as well. But look, you got a defensive coordinator in Greg Williams. Give this man the pieces that he needs to revamp and rebuild that defense. Don't pull no stupid stuff. But picking these quarterbacks up, like Jason said, that we all agreed on, that this is not the year for you to sell out on quarterback in the first round. These guys are project quarterbacks. There's no need to try to go up and pick these guys early. They're going to be there later.
We've seen this happen, though, in the past, though. I mean, even last year, a lot of people were arguing that Jared Goff and Carson Wentz were not, high pick material, but, I mean, quarterback-needy teams are going to go out there and they're going to get quarterbacks. It's that jigsaw piece that you need to make your team work. So, I mean, This could be a really smart move by Cleveland, or it could be the dumbest thing they could possibly do if they do, in fact, pull the trigger on one of these quarterbacks at number 1 overall. As a divisional opponent, I'm kind of laughing a little bit, but it's going to be definitely something to watch. It's going to make that first counter when it's ticking down that much more intriguing come draft day if they don't make a pre-draft trade. So we'll see.
Well, I'm guessing that San Francisco is praying that they do that so that they can pick up Myles Garrett, because that would be amazing for them.
Oh, yeah.
Myles Garrett and Armstrong on this. Ooh, that's a nice little combo right there.
Yep, San Francisco, another team very devoid of talent, though not having nearly as many draft picks. They could use the talent, that's for sure. I mean, if Myles Garrett falls out of number 1, he's not making it past 2. Definitely not 3. I mean, he's going in the top 5 guaranteed. Speaking of San Francisco, next bit of news, San Francisco general manager John Lynch said that he's received interest for the number 2 overall pick. He says, quote, "We are open for business." And this is surrounding a lot of news that's been coming out lately. Again, this is that time of year. It's a lot of misdirection. But there's been enough consistent news from enough different sources that you have to take the approach of, where there's smoke, there may be fire, because a lot of things that are happening also, I mean, offering to trade out is one thing, but I maybe they're trying to just move back a couple of picks, because they've also come out and said that they are, or a lot of people are linking sources behind the team, things of that nature, that they are potentially looking at drafting Leonard Fournette with the number 2 overall pick. This comes on the heels of draft analyst Tony Pauline, I believe is how you say his name, reported that San Francisco is, quote, ready to give up on Carlos Hyde due to all of his struggles with injuries over his rookie career. So, rookie contract career. So, a lot of news from a lot of different places. I have to assume that they're probably trying to move back 1 or 2 spots and pick up some draft picks, because they need all the help they can get, and they don't have as many as Cleveland does. But if they actually did pull the trigger on a Leonard Fournette with a number 2 overall pick, what are your thoughts on that? This is something we kind of joked about, I think, on the Patreon show it was. But, I mean, if it becomes reality, we gotta respect it. So what are your thoughts?
That's hard to imagine and see, because, we kind of just didn't even really consider that, just because we thought it was a ridiculous idea, because you already have, Carlos Hyde there. But if you did add Burnett into that offense, I mean, as it stands right now, you're going into the season with Brian Hoyer as your quarterback, so that's definitely going to help if you had a piece that can be able to move the ball, which Fournette will be able to do. They have a decent offensive line that he can be able to run behind, and so it will help. It definitely help that offense. So it's something if they did go there. I'd be surprised if they did go that direction.
Fantasy wise, this would be bad because I think what you'd see a two-headed monster in San Francisco. Because Carlos Hyde is a good back. The problem is he keeps getting injured. So I understand the idea of going out and getting yourself another running back, someone to take the pressure off of Carlos Hyde, and maybe lessen his injuries. So it'd be good for the team, but I think it'd be bad for fantasy for sure because it would water down both backs.
Kind of like with what we talked about on the members show. I feel like even if they did want to draft a Leonard Fournette, it doesn't make a lot of sense because Carlos Hyde is a much better fit for that offensive scheme with Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan is a very good offensive coordinator. He could scheme and make Leonard Fournette work. Anywhere Leonard Fournette goes, he's going to most likely be successful. But this is why we were talking about maybe if somehow Christian McCaffrey makes it to late in the first round, they might trade back up into the first to get him or pick him up early in the second. I don't think he's going to be there, but someone like that's more of a Swiss Army knife type player would be much more appealing to them. But maybe this is the complementary back. Carlos Hyde is usable in both aspects of the game very well. They also picked up Kyle Juszczyk from the Ravens, who is another Swiss Army knife type player. He can line up at fullback. That's his official position, but also running back, tight end. He's a pass catcher. He's a good pass blocker. So who knows? Maybe this would be a different thing that they're looking to add. Look at what happened in San Francisco, in Atlanta, where when they added Tevin Coleman, much more of a downhill back after they already had Devontae Freeman when the new regime came in. So it's not outside the realm of possibility, but I have to assume that this is misdirection. Just based on everything else that we've heard up until this point. But again, a lot of news breaking around the same kind of context right now.
Yep.
Did you have something you want to say, CJ? I thought you sounded like you were going to say something.
No, I was going to say the same scenario, how, just put it out, if that happens, how they wanted to do that just to help out Carlos Hyde. Because his injury is the same reason why the Panthers probably want to go up and get him as well. They see that Jonathan Stewart is, on the twilight years of his career, and as he's getting ready to exit, they still have a back there that a young back they can be able to bring in, and he can be able to train him and show him the ways in the NFL and use that two-back system while Jonathan Stewart's on his way out. You got Fournette coming in, so I can see how both teams probably want to make that happen.
What do you guys think the chances are that San Francisco actually picks at number 2? Because I think that they trade out of the spot.
Well, this is a good way to ensure that they trade out of the spot because if the Panthers really want Fournette, maybe they try to trade up, and maybe this is a way to get them to do that. Hey, we might take Fournette. Well, we'll trade with you, okay, and they back up. So, they need talent. We know they need a lot of talent.
Or creating a bidding war with Jacksonville. So, we'll see what happens.
If you think Jacksonville, if they really think Jacksonville's going to take them, and they know they have no shot unless they go up, then that's their way up is San Francisco.
Yeah, even if they do trade back 2 spots with Jacksonville, they could probably still walk away with it with at least a third-round pick, maybe a second in a different year. Who knows? Like that couple spots can make all the difference, especially early in the draft. That's when it's really expensive. So we'll see. We're going to move on, though. Pittsburgh chairman Dan Rooney has passed away at age 84. So obviously a member of a family very influential in the development of the NFL in the early days. So you guys have anything you want to add to this besides sending thoughts and prayers? Obviously, I'm a Ravens fan. So
definitely thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers to his family.
To the family, yeah. Like I said, outside of the rivalry of the Ravens, Steelers, everything, this is real life. So you never want to see anything like this happen. So again, thoughts and prayers. With that, we'll move into quarterback news, starting with that Jay Cutler is still contemplating retirement. So a lot of people are saying that besides his inconsistencies, this kind of overall approach and the fact that he has not been generating the interest he had hoped, and now that he's contemplating retirement, is not helping him get signed anywhere. So you guys think Jay Cutler should call it a career? Do you think he should kind of resign himself to being a backup? Do you think that job is out there for him? Maybe if someone gets injured? What are your thoughts?
I think he needs to... Go ahead, GJ.
Go ahead. I would say I agree with you. I feel like you're about to say you just need to stay in shape, stay ready. even with these quarterbacks, and the projects, but they're going to be a lot cheaper than paying for Jay Cutler. So just stay ready. Get that dad bod in shape, and you get a phone call maybe in October, November.
Maybe. And the other thing is like what you said, Griffin. I think he needs to kind of resign himself to the fact that he's probably going to be a backup this year. I mean, I don't see anybody chomping at the bit to bring him in as a starter. He's not good in the locker room, and that's not something you want from your franchise quarterback. So I think that he needs to realize what his worth is, and it's not what he thinks it is.
Yep. I mean, by all accounts, I mean, also, he can take this year off and just collect money from his contract this guaranteed money from Chicago. So he might just take this year. Yeah. We'll see. Also, last bit of quarterback news, the New York Jets are planning to host future prospect Mitchell Trubisky. So what are your thoughts on Mitchell Trubisky going to the Jets, potentially?
Jets, no, stop this quarterback thing.
The never-ending train of drafting quarterbacks.
First-round quarterbacks.
Come on, build the defense. Do something.
Other
than quarterback.
For the people out there who may have missed our show on Tuesday, Mitchell Trubisky was a guy who we were talking about who is probably the highest floor out of a lot of the people, but not necessarily the highest ceiling type player. So there have been a lot of, obviously there's no consistent consensus for number one overall. This is just another name that's being thrown into that situation as, well, not number one overall, but number one quarterback taken, I should say. So,
right.
Maybe the Jets feel like they have enough around him that a higher floor type guy is what they're looking for. That's the answer for them. Who knows?
I think this is just a visit. I mean, Arizona's met with all five of the big five quarterbacks, and they met with a couple of the other ones. They're doing their due diligence. They know they need a quarterback, and they're bringing him in to take a closer look at him. That's all.
Absolutely. All right, with that, we'll move into running back news, starting with that Adrian Peterson left New Orleans without a deal. He was visiting last week, or earlier this week, I should say. Reports are that the visit did go well, however, and the two sides will continue talking. So, Adrian Peterson to New Orleans. We talked about this a bit on Tuesday, so we're not going to linger here. None of us are really wild about that potential signing. So
no. We'll
just leave it at that.
Doesn't make sense.
It has a chance, but I mean, it's not going to happen pre-draft. It's just not. Also, Marshawn Lynch has officially begun the reinstatement process. So Marshawn Lynch is coming back, guys. Hey.
All right, beast
baby,
mode.
you know why I'm here.
So you don't get fined?
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm about that action.
Right. Anyway, reports are that he will be being traded to Oakland, though the terms of the deal have reportedly not been finalized yet, and that's because it is contingent on the Seahawks working out a new contract, and maybe I'm sure the Raiders are playing a part in that as well, with Marshawn, because as it is right now, he's coming back to still a rather large contract. So ESPN's Ed Werder? However you say his name, reports that the, quote, short-term deal will include, quote, heavy incentives. So probably less guaranteed money and a lot of opportunity to make more money. So it looks like Marshawn Lynch returning, and maybe we won't see the Raiders. A lot of reports, of course, lately being that the Raiders would be looking at quarterback in the first round, potentially even taking a swing in the first round at Joe Mixon. So... or maybe they still do because they know they're only going to have Marshawn for a year or two. So, you guys, I know we've speculated around this, but now that it seems like it's becoming a official thing, how do you like Marshawn Lynch in Oakland? Where are you taking him? What are your thoughts? I know we've kind of touched on this in the past, so we'll be brief, but just for those people who might have missed that episode, what are your thoughts?
I'm high on it. I really like Marshawn Lynch in Oakland behind that ridiculous offensive line. I think he's going to be top 5.
I agree with Jason. I like the pickup. I like the signing. I like his attitude that he's going to bring to that team. I think they're going to feed and vibe off of that. And as far as where I put him bottom of the first round.
Yep. I mean, the way I see it is that if Latavius Murray could finish as a super high-end running back, too. I think he finished like 13th overall the last 2 seasons. Marshawn Lynch should be able to at least replicate that. So he's definitely a guy I'm looking at as a number 2 RB with number 1 upside, just because age and we don't know his physical condition and things of that nature. And he's obviously older than he was. He was starting to break down a bit, but he's had time to recover. So a lot of question marks right now. So as of right now, I'm looking at him as a number 2 running back, number 1 upside. So I'd be looking for him. I wouldn't be looking for him in the first round, but I'd be looking for him in that range of running backs. So that's probably late second round, realistically. All right, we'll move on. No wide receiver or tight end news. Last bit of other news. This is kind of IDP news and just overall important stuff for defenses. Defensive tackle Jonathan Hankins has signed a 3-year deal with the Indianapolis Colts, reportedly worth $30 million, formerly of the New York Giants. He was the highest ranked, free agent that was still available on the market. So, hey, looks like Indianapolis is finally starting to look at their defense as well. So, offensive line and defense, they've needed that for a while. And with that, we will move into our topic of the day, which is our rookie running back prospects. So, again, I didn't necessarily put these in a specific order, but I think they're in the order that is most consistently being looked at now as far as rankings and where they should be taken. Some discrepancies as you get a little bit further down, but we have to start, of course, with the guy who's being consensus number 1 running back off the board, a guy we've talked about a bit to this point, Leonard Fournette. So, guys, talk to me about Leonard Fournette.
The guy's a freak. I mean, he's a rare mix of speed and power. I mean, he's a big back. He's going to make you pay. When he gets into that second level, linebackers after about the 5th time of hitting this guy are not going to want to hit him anymore. So he is going to punish defenses. He's got a nasty stiff arm. I mean, you've probably seen videos of it, him stiff arming people, and he's phenomenal at that. He's okay in the passing game, decent hands, but my problem with him, he's not very shifty. I mean, he doesn't need to be with his size and his power, but once he gets up into the second level, he's just going to run through everybody, which is great, but it could shorten his career a bit. So that's one thing that concerns me about him. But other than that, to me, he's probably going to go first in the draft.
Not exactly known for making defenders miss, that's for sure.
No, running over them, running through them,
Yes.
He reminds me of like a more athletic Brandon Jacobs, the way how he runs.
Yeah.
His NFL profile right now that he most like his game matches up with the most is Bo Jackson. So that's a pretty good comparison.
Yeah. That's a good comparison.
Yeah. I mean, this guy is a running back who's built like a linebacker, but he's got running back speed. Very high-end talent. He's, like you mentioned, Jason, very big guy, very fast guy, a blend of the two. People also like to compare him to having that kind of look and style of like an Adrian Peterson, physical guy, not necessarily makes a lot of guys miss, runs through them, not the best receiver, but he can catch the ball when asked to. And everybody has him going, as we mentioned, as the top running back off the board. His weight, of course, is his biggest measurable that everybody wanted to talk about, 240, but since then he's slimmed down to 228 during his pro day, which got people a lot more excited because that's that really lean, much. Everyone thought he was overweight, but he was coming back from an injury at the combine. But 228 is a good playing weight. Everybody thinks for him, for his frame, for his build, for his play style, and yeah, he's gonna just run over people if he can get past the defensive line and get into that secondary. They're gonna have a really hard time bringing him down, elusive or not. So,
and I mean, he was 240 at the combine, like you mentioned, and he ran a 4.540.
Yes,
at 240. I mean, you don't. If you're a linebacker and a 240-pound man is coming at you at 4.5 speed, he's going to run you over. I don't care who you are.
Mm-hmm. I agree, especially as we talked about in previous, or maybe it was the Patreon. I don't remember. I can't keep all the episodes straight anymore. Where they were talking about how he. I don't know. He's just a monster. I don't want to get too super far into it.
He's just a monster.
Yeah, we all know he's going to be successful wherever he goes. He's going to run people over. I mean, yeah, it's Leonard Fournette. So provided, obviously, he's going to probably go to Jacksonville or Carolina unless some sort of crazy move happens or San Francisco ends up taking him. But let's assume that's a smokescreen. Where would you be looking to take him in your drafts? Because obviously we were talking pretty early on, like last year when Ezekiel Elliott got drafted. We were talking about him immediately as a second-round pick. He eventually worked his way up into the first round. What are your thoughts on where we would be drafting Leonard Fournette for fantasy?
Oh man, I think comfortably you should be, depending on where he if he goes to the Panthers, for me I would take him in the second round. If he goes to the Jaguars, I'm probably not going to be looking at him until like the third or fourth round.
Jason?
I mean, I agree as far as where he's going to go. If I take him in the second round, it's going to be late in the second round. I think second, third round for me, like what CJ was saying.
Yeah. I honestly think that if he goes to Carolina, I will be higher on him. Just because, actually, the more I think about it, maybe lower. It's one of those things because we're not sure what the exact role of Cam Newton's going to be. He's always been a touchdown vulture on the ground, but they're asking him to do less and less of that as he's getting a little bit older. They want to preserve their quarterback, and he's the franchise there. There will be probably equal competition in either place that he goes. The offensive line is a problem in both places. However, we know that the passing game is a bit better in Jacksonville, so he might just have that opportunity where they're not going to be able to stack the box against him all the time. But you can make the same argument with the receiving core in Carolina. So I think either way, I'm looking for him probably as a late second-round pick. I'd be looking for him probably around we'd have to fit him into our rankings, and I have not started to stat out the rookies yet because we don't actually know where they're going, but I would probably be fitting him in as a low-end RB1 to begin the off-season process. So I would be very excited about him. I mean, talented, monster. He's going to get you fantasy points as long as he can stay healthy. So, that's Leonard Fournette. Anything else you guys want to add before we move on?
No. Nope, I think that covers it.
All right, let's move on to Dalvin Cook, who has been getting a lot of bad rap lately. Obviously, a lot of that started around the Combine. He had a very, very mediocre and disappointing Combine because most people were contesting that he was the top running back on the board. But with the bad Combine, bad showing, he didn't have a much better pro day. It was an improvement, but it wasn't still what a lot of people were hoping to see. And a lot of reports are kind of coming out right now that he's having some off the field issues, which is kind of hurting his draft stock. So there have been reports that are suggesting now this guy who was once locked into the top running back could be slipping down as the third running back off the board more than likely. So that's just kind of stuff surrounding him. But let's talk about his play. What are you guys' thoughts on Dalvin Cook?
My thoughts on him, man, is he's great in open space. You look at his tape, man. This dude is a beast in the passing game, man. He's great hands, and for his size, man, he's a great pass blocker as well, man. He's just great, a great receiver to me from the backfield, man. And what the way the game is going right now, these backs, more and more of these backs are coming like this, where they're very elusive and they have great hands.
Jason?
Yeah, I like his speed. He's got, and I mean, I know he had a mediocre Combine, but you know what? Game speed is a lot more important to me than underwear speed. So, I mean, yeah, he's. Hold on a second. He's sorry. He's explosive when he gets into space, like what CJ said. I do like that. He's got great balance. If you watch his tape, he gets hit multiple times and stays on his feet. He can make defenders miss. He's also got the power to run them over. He's a versatile back. He's really got a really nice jump cut. He can cut, and it's nuts. When he does it, it's amazing. My issues with him is he sometimes seems to seek out the sideline a little bit. He'll start to drift to the sideline. He won't trust his blockers. Instead, he kind of makes his way over there. And he doesn't always use the power that he has. It looks like he'll pull up right before he'll make a punishing hit and finish off the run. I'd like to see him, finish a run. Hit somebody at the end of that run. But overall, I think he's definitely a solid back and someone who's going to fit really nicely into certain teams.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those kind of home run hitter backs. Like, if you can find an opening and exploit a defense, he's gone. He's very talented. He's got great balance. He can be hard to bring down. Good burst. But yeah, like you said, Jason, he's a bit more of an edge rusher. He's not necessarily a north-south guy who's going to be trying to push the line, things of that nature. Because he's not nearly as big as, like we were just talking about, Leonard Fournette. He's 5'10", 210 pounds. So it's just not his game. It's not his role. But, I mean, a much better pass-catching back. So I think that his game translates obviously much better on the field. But, off the field issues, he has a bit of a fumbling history, things of that nature. People are saying that it might affect his draft stock. I think I saw a report somewhere that he got arrested at some point. I don't know if you guys had heard about that, so I'll look more into that. But, just things like that might drive him down. But it could end up being a very good thing, because if he falls to a team that could really use his services, a much more playoff-bound team, we could be looking at a really nice situation for a Leonard Fournette. For a Dalvin Cook. So, I mean, where would you guys be drafting him? And give me, we of course talked about this really in depth on the Patreon show, but figuring he goes to a good situation, because we're not sure exactly where he's going to end up now. I know we were kind of high on him potentially being a Colt, right?
Yeah, I would like him to be a New England Colt.
So,
Yeah.
Just as a good landing spot. But in general, just let's say he just goes somewhere that fits what he does well. Where are you looking to take him for fantasy purposes?
So you
I
want
think
to
probably
a team and where we're picking them?
No, I mean the whole team guessing debates. That was an hour-plus show that we did on Patreon. If people want to hear that, they can go listen to it. But I mean, we'll be sidetracked for another hour on this if we do that. So we'll just. Hypothetically, he goes to a good situation. Where are you looking to take him?
Jason?
I'd say probably end of the 4th round, early 5th.
I'd say probably 5th round for me.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. If he goes to a good situation, I know he's going to be the starter. I could see him sneaking his way up high 4th, maybe late 3rd. I mean, the running back position, like we talked about, it thins out pretty quick once you get past the stud guys, and it gets really, really diluted. And this guy, if he goes to a place, I mean, of course, we've heard the reports of him visiting Tampa Bay. If Doug Martin moves on, that'd be great. If he goes to Indianapolis, if he goes to a place where he's going to get a big opportunity, I would be completely okay taking him in the 3rd round. So it will be situational, but this is a guy who I'm listing as a RB2 to start the season. And he definitely has upside. So, based on your draft is falling, look at him in your RB2 range, rounds 3 through 5 to me. With that, we will move on to Christian McCaffrey. Now, this is a guy whose stock, on the other hand, skyrocketed through the offseason, had a great combine, great pro day. What are your thoughts on him?
Awesome. Christian McCaffrey, man, is, he's kind of like a Dalvin Cook, but he's really great. I mean, when you watch that combine, man, when it comes to those cone drills and receiver drills, he's so fluent when it comes to that with his footwork. So my notes on him, man, he's a great route runner, man. He can be used in multiple positions on the field, man. Coaches say that they can be able to, put him in the backfield, put him in the slot. Great returner. So he's basically a Swiss Army knife for you on offense, man. He's just a remarkable talent.
Jason?
Yeah, this is a Darren Sproles / Danny Woodhead type of a weapon. He's fast and he's quick. His combine was great. I mean, he had a great combine. He's super, super faster than anyone thought he was going to be. The other thing I like about this guy is when you watch him on tape, this guy runs with a chip on his shoulder. He runs angry, and you can tell. He'll finish off his runs. Even though he's not the biggest guy in the world, he actually lacks the size to be a featured back, like we're talking about him being a slasher, being a 3rd down type of a back. He's extremely talented, and he's going to fit in really nicely with a team that knows how to use him, like a Chargers or somebody that's had that kind of weapon before and knows how to use it. And as CJ mentioned, extremely good catching the ball. I mean, he could play receiver probably if he wanted to. So I definitely like Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about Swiss Army. I kind of get tired of using the term so much, but it really does fit him so well as a Swiss
We can
Army
say Gerber.
knife.
We can say Gerber. That's fine. He's a Gerber.
He's a Gerber. Okay. What
Gerber player.
Can I call him?
Definitely don't like that one.
Oh, instead of calling him a Swiss Army knife, what if I call him like a Leatherman, something like that? I don't know, something a little bit more heavy duty.
You could say Leatherman. Gerbers are better.
He's a AA battery. Fits for everything.
Okay.
That went the opposite way that we were going, but okay, thank you, CJ. Anyway, but no, he's a multi-dimensional runner, pass catcher. He can do it all. Yes, he has he's not outstanding in a lot of the measurables. You know, he's average size, average weight, things of that nature, average speed. So not, I don't want to say subpar, but not of those elite
Wouldn't say average
measurables.
speed.
Well, based on his overall reports and his measurables from recent, he wasn't burning anything. He didn't do a sub 4.4 or anything. So, what was his 40-yard dash? A 4.48, I believe it was. So I mean, it's still good.
4.45, I thought.
He's quicker in space, though.
Oh no, he's noted for making for stretching plays, and a lot of that has to do with his agility, his ability to cut. I mean, his 3-cone drill was amazing. I mean, he placed in the 97th percentile in that. So, and the 60-yard shuffle in the 96th percentile. So, he's good on his feet, and he's got great vision, and that's what really helps him extend plays. His measurables put him in comparison to a Wendell Smallwood. So I'm not necessarily sure I love that comparison, but his NFL comparison as far as the way he plays is to Tiki Barber. So I mean, hey, that's a good comparison right there. So this is a guy that I think that if he gets drafted, he's, again, by a lot of accounts, he might move up ahead of Dalvin Cook and be taken a little bit higher. But just his overall versatility, and he can line up at other positions around the field. Different roles, different schemes. He's going to be able to get the ball. They say that he could easily handle a 20 carry workload and another 10 receptions. So I mean, 30 touches a game. That's fantasy gold right there. So where would you be looking to take a Christian McCaffrey, provided he goes to a good situation? Because that's the best we can do at this point of the offseason.
Well, if he's going to get the same volume as Leonard Fournette is, I think you should take McCaffrey in the second round. Just off of that.
Jason?
No, I don't think he's going to get the same carries as Fournette. I think Fournette, wherever he goes, is going to be a featured back, and I think McCaffrey is going to be used as a situational weapon. So as much as I like him, and I like him as a talent, I don't think I would take him until probably the third, maybe fourth round.
Wow, that's a steal if you did get it.
That would be a steal. See, just based on, again, the reports that we just heard, that I just said, with, they're saying, he could easily handle 20 carries a game, another 10 receptions. I mean, he may not be as, productive on the ground alone as a Leonard Fournette, but that number of touches and being that involved in the passing game, a PPR back especially, yeah, I could easily see him going as a high number 2 running back, with number 1 upside for sure, and in PPR much, much higher than that. I mean, maybe even a low-end number 1, depending on how things all kind of shake out. It all depends on, obviously a good situation can mean a number of things. If he becomes a featured back, or he goes to a place that really involves pass catching to the running backs a lot of dump offs, things of that nature, it could obviously skyrocket much higher. So I'd be looking for him probably, second, third round initially. I mean, again, this is the 14th of April, so we have not had the draft yet, so this will be adjusted. But as of right now, based on his talent and assuming whatever the opportunity is, it's a good one, just based on volume alone, I feel like he could be probably in that range of production. So I'm comfortable with that estimation. So let's move on. Joe Mixon. So obviously a guy, we talked about some off-the-field issues with Dalvin Cook. This guy kind of takes it to the next level. But as far as on the field, I mean, obviously we know he's a very big, powerful back with great vision, great balance. I mean, he would have been in contention for the number 1 running back for sure with Leonard Fournette. But those off-the-field issues have derailed that quite a bit. So what are your guys' thoughts on Joe Mixon?
Well, man, I'm sorry, Jason. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I did an article I wrote that's coming out shortly here about upcoming rookies and who I thought was my favorite rookies and everything. And I actually rated Joe Mixon over Fournette. And the reason I did was because I think he's more versatile. This guy is very fast. He's faster than Fournette. He's actually taller than Fournette. and he's more elusive. He runs to daylight. However, he's still just as explosive, and he's a good finisher, just like Fournette is. He's got a great stiff arm. As Griffin already mentioned, he's got good balance. You're not bringing this guy down, just by hitting him. That's not going to happen. You have to wrap him up and drive him to the ground. Otherwise, he's just going to run through those tackles. You hit him as hard as you want, he's just going to bounce off and keep moving. He's patient. He lets plays develop, which again is that's hard to come by in the college ranks. And then he'll explode through the hole as soon as it's there. The only thing I have on him, honestly, is the off the field issues. If it wasn't for the off the field issues, as Griffin mentioned, I think they'd be talking about who goes first, Fournette or Mixon. And I think whoever ends up with him, because they're going to probably get him in the second or third round, is going to have a steal. Now, there have been reports that he's going to go maybe in the bottom of the first, which is a little bit closer to what he should be going, in my estimation.
Yeah, I agree with Jason, man. He's a good receiver, man. Good between the tackles, really physical. His game, when you watch him, I'm looking at his game tape, man. He reminds me of a cross between Adrian Peterson with his power and then with his patience, man, like a Le'Veon Bell. That's what I'm really seeing when I look at the kid. And just like Jason's saying, man, if he didn't have the off-field issue concerns, man, this dude should be talked about as the number one running back in this year's draft. But, whoever gets him in the, bottom of the first or second round, they're getting a steal as a running back.
Yeah, I think most of the estimations of him slipping into day 3 are pretty much all dispelled at this point. I think a lot of people are accepting he will be day 2 with the chance of someone maybe taking a shot at him in day 1. So without getting to the off-the-field issues, focusing on his measurables and him as a player, I mean, his measurables are hard to confirm because, again, he wasn't invited to the combine, but, I mean, almost identical height and weight as Leonard Fournette, as we mentioned. He's very fast, almost identical speed. Just a lot of really good measurables, but the big difference, of course, as we've already talked about, is his gameplay. He is and this is probably the best praise you can get, his NFL comparison is Le'Veon Bell. So... yeah. Just imagine getting a Le'Veon Bell on your team. I mean, obviously for fantasy, that is, what more could you ask for? Yeah, and for an NFL team, versatile weapon.
I actually say that he's closer to a David Johnson because of his size and power. I think he's got more size and power than Le'Veon Bell. So I would say more David Johnson. But either way, you're talking about an elusive, versatile back who's going to be a feature somewhere.
Mm-hmm. And, great runner, great pass catcher. Powerful, elusive, vision. He has it all. We all know this. It's just the off-the-field issues that are ruining everything. So, again, let's assume he goes to a great situation. We don't know who, and we're not going to speculate because that's what we did in a previous show, and we'll be talking all day about it. Where are you looking to take him for your fantasy drafts?
Probably the bottom of the first, early second.
Probably middle of the second, early third.
Assuming he goes to, like we said, a good situation, which I have to assume it's a place where he's going to be getting the bulk of the carries. I mean, this is a guy with absolute running back 1 upside. We'll have to monitor, of course, what his opportunity is, because for all we know, he might go to a good situation, but they might not give him the opportunity right away because they want to make sure that they get all the off-the-field stuff under control. And, of course, this was a while ago, the incident that everybody's referring to, so it's not like it's a constant thing, but it's something that teams are going to be very cautious about. So
it's a PR nightmare.
It is. Whoever drafts him is going to have a PR nightmare. That's a good way to put it.
They already have to have this already in place in stone now. Go like, okay, this is what we're going to be saying as soon as we pick this guy because it's going to happen. And then, it's a shame, but once he starts playing, I don't really think it's going to be talked about like it was while the draft is going on.
Not nearly as much as it is now, but also this is the offseason. That's all there is to talk about is things that are both in the past and projecting them forward. So if he goes to a great situation, whatever that may be, and he gets the workload, I could easily see him just as a rookie, just safely right now, him going as a probably mid-second round pick as a low-end RB1. Incredibly talented player. So it's just unfortunate, everything that surrounds him off the field. So, all right, with that, we will move on to Alvin Kamara. So this is a guy, consistently these are rated as the top 5 guys. Alvin Kamara, what are you guys' thoughts on him? I had him down as being a pretty explosive guy. He's a pretty good 3-down back. He's good at pass catching. His biggest knock, though, that he did not have a very large workload at any point during his college career. So what are you guys' thoughts?
Yeah, that's concerning. I mean, you come to the NFL and the workload's going to be different, and the hits you're going to take are going to be different. He's got good hands. I mean, he can catch the ball pretty well out of the backfield. He's got receiver instincts, it looks like. He doesn't have great vision, especially once he gets up into the second level of the defense. He actually seeks out the tacklers instead of going around them running daylight. And he also kind of seeks out the sideline a little bit too much. And that's something that we mentioned off the air a little bit, that a lot of these runners, as you go down this list and get further into the draft, and 3rd round, 4th round, a lot of these college runners, they seem to seek out the sideline. They start to veer off into the sideline. They're looking for space to run in instead of creating space or using their blockers to create space. That's a bad thing. In the NFL, you're not going to be able to beat linebackers to the sideline. They're going to beat you to the sideline and then beat you out of the sideline. So that's a problem for Kamara. His speed's okay. The size is okay. I think he's going to be a complementary piece somewhere.
Yeah, I totally agree with Jason. I think he's going to be a complementary piece. His game, basically, and how he plays, basically says that's how he's going to be used in the NFL. But as far as the good things that he does, man, for me, when I look at his game tape, man, he's really good in space. It's really natural. I know I've compared him to a Le'Veon Bell when it comes to his patience and stuff like that. But when I watch more of his tape, man, it looks like he's more effective in the passing game than it is the run. And I feel like that coaches are going to basically use him in such as, they're going to use that his receiving ability versus, him being somebody they can put between the tackles because his size. I don't think that's wise to use him in that way. And I think you're probably just going to just ruin the kid if you keep putting him through the tackles when he's not built to be doing that.
He never recorded 20 touches in a game in college, in his entire college career.
Yeah.
So that's definitely the concern. Of course, the reason behind that being that he was in a committee situation. So it's kind of concerning, but again, very explosive. I mean, the guy was in the 92nd percentile for vertical jump and the 97th for broad jump. Very explosive legs. Really good arm length for his frame, too. He was in the 94th percentile. So, again, used in multiple situations, pass catching. His closest comparisons physically are Doug Chapman and Kenneth Dixon. So, again, versatile players. Thomas Jones is his NFL comparison. So, just to give you guys kind of an idea of, what we're talking about here. But I think that this is obviously the first player where the 4 previous ones we've talked about are all, we think they can go in, they can be starters, NFL, immediate impact. This guy, as we've mentioned, right. I think he's going to be more of a situational guy. He's going to play a role. He's going to probably serve in a committee. I don't think he's going in anywhere and winning the 3-down back job, week 1.
No.
So that being said, say he goes to a good situation where he does get involved. Are we looking to draft him, anything before double-digit rounds, or so we're drafting him as a late-round upside type thing, backup, starter? What do you guys think? Where are you looking to take a guy like this?
Man, I mean, as we mentioned, this is all situational dependent. I mean, where he goes and stuff. But if he gets the perfect situation for him, I would be looking to take him maybe before the double-digit rounds, like maybe in the 8th round.
I'm gonna take a late round flyer. I'll probably look for him after I get my kicker.
Yeah, wow, holy crap! So you taking your kicker and defense round early, and this is going to be your 15th round pick, 16th round depending on your league.
Well, I can't. Well, okay, you say this situational thing that maybe that he get a high upside. I mean, get a higher role that he can be able to get involved more in the offense. I just don't see that when I look at his game. I see that he's going to be a gadget type player that comes in, maybe gets 15 touches a game, something like that. I don't know if I can highly invest something and a player that's going to be doing like that. I need to get some more uptake. So I'll take a late round flyer and hope for the best. But I'm not going to invest high value picks on this kid when I know that his game is not built for him to be a superstar.
Yeah, he basically took what I was going to say right out of my mouth. I mean, bottom line, I think he's going into a timeshare. I mean, we don't know what it's going to be. His biggest upside could potentially be if he goes to a place where the starter is injury prone. He might get an opportunity. But the workload concerns are a big counter to that argument. So, yeah, I'd be looking for him somewhere around the double-digit rounds myself. He would be a flex option. Most likely not even that. He's probably just going to be someone that you draft, you put on your bench. And if something happens and he gets a bigger, better opportunity, whatever the case may be, you then have the option to plug him into your flex. But, I mean, as a whole, this is not a guy you're drafting to be your starter, and he probably will not have a starter opportunity, at least not come draft day. Maybe come the end of training camp he will, but not day one.
Yeah.
So
I had the same mentality.
I'm being too optimistic with this guy.
Yeah,
I had the same mentality when I picked up Todd Gurley, and that worked out really well for me his rookie year.
I'll bet it did.
well, to be fair, Todd Gurley was on a different tier as a prospect. He was much more in the lines of the first four guys that we talked about than, obviously with Alvin Kamara, where we're talking.
This draft class was higher though than the draft class he went in.
Oh, drastically. And yes, he was coming off injury, but that there was no knock against him as a prospect. That you just had to know you're going to eat a couple weeks as he was coming back from the injury. With, of course, talking about Todd Gurley there. So let's move on to the last guy we have on this list today, Kareem Hunt. Now, again, this guy is much more... Wow. Dang. This guy falls much more in line with the Alvin Kamara mold, where we don't expect him to go anywhere and be the day one starter. He's much more of a project back. He is known for having good vision and being pretty elusive. He's been known to make people miss, but, I mean, he's not exactly a guy who's going to come in there and blow the roof off anybody. So what are you guys' thoughts on Kareem Hunt?
He can be elusive one time. He makes one good cut, but after he makes that one good cut, he doesn't know what to do. He gets kind of lost and he ends up getting smashed. And he's not big enough to commit. He's not a Leonard Fournette. He's not run anybody over or anything like that. He's not fast. I think he ran like a 4.65 or something like that. So super slow for one of these guys. What's that?
A 4.62 to be exact.
4.62, right? So not fast and not really very explosive. You know, I mean, when you watch him run. He's one of those backs that he does what I call running themselves into the ground. You know, they don't explode into the hit and get an extra 2-3 yards out of the run. They'll get wrapped up, they get dragged down. They kind of almost looks like he gives up at the end of the run, goes to the ground. I'm not a fan of this guy. I don't think he. I'll just say it right now. I probably won't be drafting Kareem Hunt at all.
He ran for almost 1,500 yards and had 400 yards receiving last year, Jason.
That's nice.
Yeah, at the college level.
How nice? How nice for him.
Yeah, I mean it's a nice stat line. I don't know, CJ, your thoughts?
Wow, Kareem Hunt. I'm so sorry, man. I have never heard of you before, but you sound like a guy that's got to get drafted by somebody.
Wow, way to do your homework there, CJ.
Look, I'm being honest. I'm not making no bullshit.
All right.
Oh man, The Grapes of Wrath was a fantastic book. All those grapes, all that wrath.
Oh, wow. Oh, man, we are completely off the rails. All right. It's funny because if you look on NFL.com and they talk about his draft profile, they say he's a big back with great vision and elusiveness. He's not a big back. He's 5'10".
No, he's 5'10".
Yeah, he's 216. So I guess that's big. Thick for that frame. But yeah, he's not a burner. In fact, among all of his measurables, the highest thing he even placed in was a 76th percentile. So not exactly a game-breaking mold or build or play. I mean, he had some good seasons in college, but I mean, people like to knock that was a lot to do with the competition that he was facing. So, I mean,
I was going to say, he played for Toledo. I mean, this guy didn't play in the SEC or anything like that. So
it's not my fault. See the competition.
Exactly.
Why would I pay attention to such mediocrity?
I love how just in two different spots on NFL.com, one place says he has a compact body, and the other one says he has a big back. Like those kind of contradict each other, or maybe I'm reading it wrong. But
maybe he's compact big.
Yeah, he's compact, thick, big back, elusive, muscular legs, and
What's going on here?
these are exact quotes I'm pulling from NFL.com.
Get off that site.
I know.
My God, man, we have children listening to the show.
Yeah, the common theme throughout all the different analytics, though, is that he's good at evading the first guy. So you're right, Jason.
Oh.
So yeah, this is another guy I would not be taking a high round flyer on. Maybe late round if he goes to a great situation. He was given a 99% physical match to Kenneth Dixon. We talked about obviously Alvin Kamara, but so that's interesting. Spencer Ware, another one that is notable that he's very closely compared to physically. So I mean, not exactly, first round running back potential for us in fantasy. So what do you guys think? Just let's wrap this up real fast. I would be taking him maybe as a late round flyer if he's drafted in a perfect situation and has a chance to come in and compete for touches.
Late round flyer.
Later wire.
Late round, and wow, Jason's not drafting him at all. He's a waiver wire pickup. All right.
Nope.
He don't want no parts of him.
All right.
I don't want nothing.
All right. Anyway, so of course, if we were approaching this like actual rankings, we could easily come back next week and run down another 6 or 7 guys. But the whole concept of this is to get you guys used to the guys who have a chance to be fantasy relevant. And beyond these handful of guys, yes, it's a very deep running back class, but a lot of them are not going to be able to get the opportunity to perform on their teams that they're probably drafted to, so they're clearly not going to be fantasy relevant. So with that, we'll move on to the wide receiver position next week. So make sure you guys tune in for that, because that's going to do it for us today. So again, be back on Tuesday talking wide receivers, and remember, head over to patreon.com if you want to get some of these more in-depth breakdowns. We've referenced it a lot in this show. We were speculating where a lot of these guys land, and that will really help you kind of try and get an idea of what the best situation for these guys will be. So that's a exclusive show for our members over at patreon.com. Just look for The Fantasy Football Fanatics. Of course, you can go to thefantasyfootballfanatics.com and you can get a good write-up on a lot of these guys. Jason has a really good article that should be published within the next couple days, I think. And remember, rate, subscribe, review, iTunes, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, the works. Every Tuesday, Friday, we're going to be here. And if you want to follow us individually on Twitter and keep up with us and interact with us and get the news as it breaks, at the FF Fanatics, or you can follow us individually. I'm at GPalmerFFF, CJ is at CJ Hickman89, and Jason is at Jason Cabrera 13. And with that, we're going to move into our post show, which we're going to talk about something that we've all experienced from time to time, and this was a request that people wanted to hear our thoughts on the pros and cons to actually attending a sporting event. And I've got some pretty heated arguments that I think should be fun.
Alrighty.
So that should be fun. I think it'll be a good time. It'll be a fun conversation to be sure. So that will be found exclusively on youtube.com/thefantasyfootballfanatics. Just get to know us more. Generally not football-related conversation, but this time it's going to be kind of, I guess. I mean, I guess it could apply to really any sport. It doesn't specify football, so we'll have fun. So again, if you enjoyed, please rate, review. Any parting thoughts before we sign off, guys?
Well, man, R.I.P. to Charlie Murphy, man. Passed away today.
Yeah.
R.I.P. to that too, man. One of the comedy legends, and best wishes to the family.
Yep, a couple days ago. Some of the best skits from Chappelle's show that everyone's still quoting today, and it's a bad loss.
Fantastic talent.
It was leukemia, I think I heard, battle to leukemia.
Man, 57.
Leukemia.
57 years old.
57 years old. Terrible.
Young.
And on
Very
that
young.
amazing downer, we're out of here. So everyone take care.
We're celebrating a life.
I know. We're trying to end it on an upbeat, and then Charlie Murphy died. I forgot about that a couple days ago.
That's up.
No. I'm just saying. Yeah, we should have done like a daps or a props or thing to talk about that less timely. I don't know. All right, we're out of here. Everyone take care. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Tuesday. Everyone take care. Bye.
Life in the fast lane, moving at the speed of life, and I can't slow down. Only got a gallon in the gas tank, but I'm almost at the finish line, so I can't stop now. I don't really know where I'm headed, just enjoying the ride. Just gonna roll till I drop and ride till I die.